I don't like the idea of somebody literally dancing on my grave. It's just not the one for me. It's supposed to be a respectful place where, you know, you lay your spirit to rest and everything, and I just don't think that it's... I think maybe because of my background with my parents dying at such an early age, I always think about death in...
You're scared of it as well, aren't you?
I am a little bit.
Yeah.
But I'm quite happy now that I'm still here for my children to see them. But I think with that in the back of my head, I don't really... I don't visit them as much as I should. But every time I seem to go to visit them, it's raining. It's always raining, and the weather's...
Well, how do you think I feel? All my Welsh relatives are buried in the Welsh graveyard in Wales, and the whole miserable graveyard is all these slate tombstones, and half of them have got the name Jones on it, so I've got no idea which is my particular set of Joneses. So, you know, pay my respects to the kind of cemetery at large. But I do feel that, especially in our inner cities, we're running out of parks, and we know there's so little money to spend on parks, and there's so little money now to plant new trees. Wouldn't it be great if these graveyards were turned back into parks? Because they're actually very beautiful places. There's loads of butterflies, foxes, wildlife, and I see nothing wrong whatsoever in, you know, having a picnic in a graveyard or getting married in a graveyard. Oh, so you'd rather your children just run up and down a busy street breathing in diesel fumes than perhaps, you know...
But don't pretend it's about children. You don't like them either.
Picking up on what you said, Janet, this is in an article in the Times today. It says in the early part of the 19th century, cemeteries were built with winding pathways, picturesque vistas filled with pieces of art and places to lunch, hunt or shoot, which is a bit weird, or go carriage racing. Now, I like the idea of maybe sitting respectfully and maybe having a picnic or something like that if it's in a beautiful parkland. But I don't know, the whole idea of taking goats into a graveyard and doing yoga there, that doesn't seem right to me.
Well, lots of rural churchyards use sheep to cut the grass. What's the difference between a sheep, you know, munching the grass around your Uncle Alf's grave, or a goat, you know, teaching someone how to meditate and chill out a bit? I think it's really... What is the matter with you three today?
No, I'm with you.
You are?
I'm with you.
Are you?
I absolutely agree with you.
I cannot see you downward dogging in a graveyard.
Listen, I'm not going to do yoga anywhere. So that's put me right off.
OK.
But, no, I'm absolutely fine with it, but then I'm not kind of spiritual in that way. I do understand that some people would find it disrespectful, and I think the actual graves themselves would have to be, you know,
cordoned
respected and cordoned off. But I've no problem with people starting to enjoy spending time there, because, like you said, there are some beautiful ones.
Well, I mean, I'll go and visit them if I'm, you know, in a place of historical interest or that sort of thing. Like Buenos Aires has got an incredible graveyard that I went to see, and it's full of monuments and catacombs and all these sort of things. And that was fascinating, because that felt like it was history. But to go and see where members of my close family are sort of buried and know that there's people throwing frisbees around and doing that sort of thing just doesn't feel right.
But don't you think that the church, especially in this country, the church is losing so many members that looking at this idea of putting the golf course in the church, this is just a desperate measure to try and get people to go into church, and perhaps they'll, you know, knock a few balls about and think, oh, while I'm here, I've scored a hole in one, I might as well say thanks to God and spend a bit of more time in here. I was raised as an Anglican, and I've said many times on this show, I believe in God. I'm not embarrassed to say that I pray. I do think the church, when these big cathedrals were built originally, they were places that people used much more than they do now. And I remember filming in Lincoln Cathedral and being told, oh, yeah, they used to have a market in here. They had no chairs, and people would come in and they would have, like, petty courts, you know, courts there and everything.
But it was for the people, it was for the community.
It was a community space.
And I agree with that.
So anything that gets people back into cathedrals, other than tourists just wandering around photographing them and not really connecting with them, you know.
No, that makes total sense.